The first type of phrase is it's the all about me phrase. You're in a conversation with them and everything is I this, I that. You're just everything has to like swing back to them. Even if you're telling them a story, it's, I had that too. I had that too. I remember when I was like that, you can't even ever get to a conversation about you, even if they asked you about you, somehow it always swings back to them. And, I know it seems kind of obvious, but you really do feel like, wait a minute, this is so one-sided. I realize now that they never even ask about me, or if they do ask about me, it just they never really get to me. And, as an empath, you end up kind of in the relationship feeling like I'm going to help them. I'm going to take care of them. Maybe I don't need that much for me. I'm good with, being the one who takes care of and pours love into, or even if it's a work situation or a family situation, you end up pouring so much into a person and feeling like I'm good with that. That actually fills my cup. It fills my cup to take care of other people. Right. But you end up after a while thinking, gosh, I would like to have some feeling of it being a little bit two-sided. And then you start to feel, oh, maybe I feel guilty if I feel like that, I mean, but don't feel guilty if you want to have some amount of a two-sided relationship every once in a while. Don't allow yourself that feeling of guilt. It should be two-sided. It should be a give and take relationship. That's what relationships are about. When it's all one-sided, if it's all always about the other person, that's one of the hallmarks of narcissism. And I know this because, I've seen this so often in, my practice. When I practiced law as a divorce attorney, I practiced at a very, very high level as a divorce attorney for many, many years. And I've also helped many thousands of people through my Slay programs now. And I wrote a book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, which ended up becoming a USA Today bestseller and a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And so I've seen this, in many, many arenas. And it's really, really crucial for all of you who are out there thinking, is this person a narcissist? For you to understand and see these red flags that scream narcissism. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you do that now, so you never miss out on the empowering content that we offer here. The next thing is the victim phrase, And many narcissists, they're either like the hero that swoops in when somebody is in these situations, and they become that hero and then back off, and it's like, where did they go? Or they're the victim. They're always the victim. And oh, why does this always happen to me? And nobody understands what I'm going through. And they play this guilt card all the time. And that's a manipulation as well. It's a way to garner sympathy. It's a way to control the narrative. And they do this a lot of times so that public people will see this and play this sympathy card. And then it manipulates the target so that the target feels guilty and everybody else feels sorry for this person. And then the target is manipulated into doing more than they want to or should, because this person is, constantly making you feel guilty, right? Even though you're like, now, overdoing more than you probably should. And this person has like learned helplessness, or, constantly playing the victim card for themselves. I guess I'll be here alone again. I never get what I want. And, here I am. And so you're constantly, playing into them. But everybody else is, there's that underlying rage right underneath the surface. Underlying rage, underlying competitiveness, underlying passive aggression right underneath the surface. So it's very much a covert narcissist trait, right? And by the way, if you're dealing with a narcissist, you should get the support and help that you need. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. That will help you tremendously as well. And if you guys have seen any of these things, I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know the kinds of things that you guys have seen, the kinds of phrases that you've seen. The next one is the invalidation phrase, the invalidation phrase. So, the way they'll invalidate you is invalidate your feelings. They'll say like, you're too sensitive, you're reading too much into this, that didn't happen. And, it's a way to keep the spotlight on them, and they'll invalidate people in your life too. Oh, that person's a jerk. This person doesn't love you. I don't know what you see in them. If it's, it's just friends of yours, basically. It's a way to keep you in their lair. It's a way to keep you, so that you are fully isolated and with them and with no one else around you. So, they don't want you to have any other support system other than them. And of course, they're not really a support system because they're not really for you. They're really only for them. So you have to make sure that you protect yourself emotionally and identify when you are being manipulated. Okay. The next one, number 4, is project and deflect phrases. This is when they are trying to avoid accountability. So this is, it's not my fault. I had no choice. That wasn't my responsibility. I would have done it, but that I was never supposed to do that. This is avoidance of responsibility. We never talked about that. You were supposed to do that first. There's, a variety of ways that they project and deflect, but basically when you're trying to get them to be held accountable for something that they were supposed to do, or maybe it's something they didn't do and, did do and weren't supposed to, or didn't do and they were supposed to, whatever it was, there's always some reason for it. I was under a lot of stress that week, what I was dealing with, all these things. Why are you bringing that up now? This is a terrible time to have this conversation. We can talk about this tomorrow. I'm too tired to have this conversation now. With all these people around, you're raising your voice. I can't have a conversation when you're raising your voice. You just interrupted me. There's all these things to project and deflect or bring it back on you. And it's just a constant thing, right? So, and by the way, if you are dealing with a narcissist, you definitely want to check out my free phrases for disarming narcissists. And you can get those at disarmthenarc.com, disarmthenarc.com. And I'll drop a link to these free phrases for disarming narcissists in the description below as well. And I would love to know which of the types of phrases that I've mentioned so far resonates with you the most so far too. Just drop a comment below. All right, the next one is the one up type of phrase, the one up, kind of the competitive one. And I've seen this so often. And even before I knew about narcissism, I've had friends like this. It's like, even the smallest of things, you're just trying to have a normal conversation. And no matter what it is, like, you can just say, I had a cold or whatever. And this person had a worse cold than you that week, or whatever it is. Like, I sat in traffic and, oh, I had worse traffic. Like, it's no matter what you say, it's there's this bigger, better, worse, more. I just like sort of shut down when those kinds of conversations happen. Yep, yours is worse. Yep, yours was, you get it. Because I can't have that with me. Like, it's, have it, because it's so frustrating for me. And that's a classic sign of narcissism. The next one is the gaslighting phrase. Number 6 is the gaslighting phrase. This is just a complete where they're trying to make you think that you're crazy. So you're imagining things that never happened. It's, it's a very, very powerful tool to question your sense of reality. So we talked about that and you agreed. Don't you remember? It's you looking at a text message that very clearly looks like somebody is having an inappropriate relationship and you're reading too much into it. It's very clearly meant to have you question your sense of reality. You are not seeing what you're seeing. You are not hearing what you're hearing. You didn't experience what you experienced, or you did. And, all of whatever it is, it's because, again, it's a form of projection and deflection, or what I call lying and denying. It's so that they don't have to take responsibility for something, but it's meant to make you think that you're crazy. Okay, so understanding this is so essential for you to maintain your mental clarity. And what you can do is just start to step back. And I say, step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. You just step back. You can start to see them as a toddler having a tantrum on the floor, and start to see them as, the person that they are, and take that boundary, take a step back and say, okay, wait a minute. I can see them for who they are. And I can see that I'm the one who doesn't need to take this personally. And I can see that they're upset, and I can breathe, and I can take a moment and go, all right, I deserve respect. And just go, you know what? My step 1 is that I can make that step to say, no matter what, you need to treat me with respect. And then use those phrases for disarming narcissists. And, one of which is, we can have this conversation when you're ready to be calm. I can see that you're upset. I can see that you're angry. You're looking at the person as if you're a third party, right? Don't allow yourself to be triggered. You put that imaginary, sort of transparent, invisible barrier around you, and then it's like Teflon. So number 7 is what I call conditional love and approval phrases. Conditional love and approval phrases. I'll only love you if, you're only valuable when. And this is, it's very much an emotional type of manipulation. It's a clear sign of narcissistic tendencies. And a lot of times you see this from a parent to a child, and it's a lot of times it's not communicated that maybe specifically, but it's more like, if you are really, really good at football, then I'll love you. Or if you're really, really good at academics, then you're valuable. That sort of thing, when you see it from a parent to a child, or even from a spouse to a spouse, you're only really valuable to me if you're making money or something like that. I mean, that's kind of a conditional love and approval sort of a thing too. So again, healthy boundaries, healthy communication, give and take. That is a healthy type of a relationship. The next one is the lack of empathy phrase. This is the last one of the eight phrases, the 8 types of phrases that scream narcissism. So this is the I don't care how you feel. It's a blatant lack of empathy, a fundamental trait of a narcissistic behavior. Understanding this lack of empathy is crucial for protecting your emotional well-being and maintaining healthy relationships. So these are the 8 phrases that scream narcissism. Garden variety narcissist, or that covert narcissist who pretends to be oh so sweet and so kind in any situation. All right, so you're overreacting. I know I've heard before. I've heard it in court. I've heard it with opposing counsel. I've heard it in a personal situation. All you're trying to do is have a conversation with them. They use this to gaslight you because they don't want to hear what you have to say. They're trying to dismiss your feelings or invalidate your experiences. And oftentimes it's meant to project because they're trying to shut you up. They want you to feel like you're the problem. It's a defense mechanism. Instead of you getting defensive, which I always say, I always wear jade. I'm half Chinese. I always wear jade, but never jade, never justify, argue, defend, or explain. Calmly assert yourself. Stand in your power. The more you can stay calm, the better it's going to be for you. The more you get angry, the more you get into it, the more they suck you in. Now you're sucked in, dragged down. Stand in your power and just say, I don't agree. My feelings are valid. And this is important to me. You don't even have to say I'm not overreacting. Just say I don't agree. My feelings are valid and this is important. In a professional setting, I've had clients who I'm dealing with or I'm representing, and people are, I've had opposing counsel say you're overreacting, and I've just had to say no, I'm not. My client is upset about this situation and I'm bringing it to your attention. I'm not overreacting. It's a serious situation. They're unhappy about it. If they're trying to dismiss your concerns, you just calmly respond. Don't get emotional. Stand your ground and maintain your confidence and stick to the issues. Don't get personal, because as soon as you say, I don't like the hair on your head or this or that, you don't, as soon as you go there, then you're losing control. Similarly, is number 2 is you are too sensitive. Narcissists love to accuse other people of being too sensitive as a way to deflect people away from their hurtful actions. So if they've done something to hurt you, or maybe you've found suspicious text messages in their phone, or you've seen behavior that they've engaged in that is inappropriate, they'll just dismiss it away. Oh, you're too sensitive. And this is another form of gaslighting. So you want to respond with something like, I'm not too sensitive. I'm having an appropriate response to your actions. Your actions were hurtful, and I'm expressing how I feel about them. If they're not going to address your feelings, then this is not a person that you should be with if it's a personal relationship. I know I've had people in my life who have said this to me. if this is the type of person, I certainly wouldn't be friends with this type of a person anymore. I mean, if that's the case, then you definitely want to, assert boundaries. And if you are dealing with this type of a person and you want phrases for disarming them, I have free phrases for disarming narcissists. You can get those at disarmthenarc.com. I highly recommend that you go get them. It will help you reclaim your power. Also, join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators, with Rebecca Zung for more support, and will give you more feeling of community as well. Don't do this alone. Don't be in isolation. The next thing that they will do is they'll accuse you of being the narcissist. They love to project their narcissistic behavior on others. If they accuse you of being the narcissist, they're going to do that because they know it's the one thing that will bother you the most, that will send you off into the stratosphere. That is just something you can just, oh, that's interesting. That's curious. What makes you think that? Get curious instead of angry. Be like Inspector Clouseau. Oh, that's interesting. What makes you think that? It kind of puts the burden of proof back on them. And you're really not interested in their response. It's just more like diffusing. It's like that you're not getting angry. You're just more like curious. Oh, okay. You just calmly ask for examples. Oh, that's interesting. What makes you think that? The next one is you'll never find anybody better. This is meant to undermine your self-esteem and keep you tied to them. Do not believe it. Okay. There's so many examples that I can give you where I have seen people say this to others, and 3 hours after the divorce ink was dry, that they've signed the agreement, they went to the grocery store and they found their soulmate in the seafood section. They just want you to feel dependent on them. They want you to think that your self-worth is tied up in them, that no one else is ever going to want you, or whatever it is. I understand that that's what you think, but I'm confident in myself and I know my value. That's all you need to say. I understand myself, my value, and my self-worth. Thank you. You don't need to say, I'll find somebody else or anything like that, because then that will trigger them. Just say, I understand that that's what you think, but I know my self-worth and I know my value. Another thing that they love to say is everybody else agrees with me, or no one else agrees with you. The absolutes, speaking in absolutes, they certainly don't want you to speak in absolutes, but they love to speak in absolutes, right? They love to let you think that there's this huge army out there of people, this bevy of people that are all lined up against you and with them, so that you feel isolated, so that you feel ganged up on, bullied. The way that I would just combat that is, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate your concern. That's all you need to say. You don't need to, say, you're going to go verify it, or, you want them to verify it. You don't need to say anything like that. Just shut it down. But just, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate your concern. And that's it, because then it just is like, whatever. There's an expression that says, I said whatever, bitches, and the bitches whatever. So just leave it alone. Don't give it credence. Don't give it merit, because even if the people are saying this stuff, who cares? Those aren't your people. Stop trying to make not your people your people. The people who are your true people aren't going to say stuff about you. And the people who aren't are. So whatever. Okay. So leave it alone. And the next one is, I never said that. I mean, you can have it in a text message that glaringly says that they said that. You can have it in a recording and play it for them. I've done this in court, and they'll still say, I never said that. They love to gaslight you. I've seen opposing counsel do that right in a court transcript. Here it is. You said this. I never said that. Okay. Keanu Reeves says, I'm at a point in my life where if somebody says 1 + 1 = 3 or whatever, you just go, you're right. Have a great day. Have a nice life. Leave it alone. Keep a record of the conversations. Just calmly, just keep a record of the facts. Keep a record of your texts, of your emails. And you know what you say? You say, thank you for the gift, to yourself, not to them. You just document. because documenting their lies and their inconsistent statements becomes your gift of leverage. It helps you maintain your sanity, and you will assert the truth down the road. All of these things will help you. It will prepare you. You will be able to respond more effectively. And let me tell you, what happens in darkness ends up in the light. It does. It just does. It becomes your leverage. And I show you how to use it as leverage. And just get started with my Disarm the Narc phrases. It's a good place to start. And remember, you have the power to confidently assert yourself and handle yourself in these situations with grace and strength. And narcissists only win when you give in. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life, and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. We are going to tell you all about how to smack down that narcissist, because I am going to reveal to you the top 10 phrases narcissists use to control you, so that you're going to be onto them and you're going to know what to do to fight back. All right, we're working our way up to number 1. I'm going to start with number 10. Ready? And by the way, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I want you to be part of my community so we can fight back. Your support means you have fuel to fight back. I'm arming you with knowledge and strategies every day. Number 1 is you're too sensitive. I'd be sensitive too if somebody said something like, oh, you're eating too much. It's like you're putting some weight on or whatever. Oh, this person's on a diet, whatever. And they're announcing it all in front of like a whole big room full of people or whatever. Oh, can't you take a joke? Well, you know what? Those kinds of jokes at my expense, they're not funny. That's not my idea of humor. That is not my idea of humor. That is my idea of gaslighting. That's what that is. And I might just have to torch you next time. No, I'm not telling you to engage in domestic violence or anything, but I'm just telling you that that's what that is. That's gaslighting. If you want to know where the term gaslighting came from, it came from a play, later a film, a manipulative tactic that was used in the film by the husband against the wife, where he was trying to make her doubt her reality. He was trying to make her go crazy. And so what he would do is he would blow the gas lights out, and she would say, wasn't that just lit? And he would say, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about. He was trying to make her doubt her reality, her perceptions. And so when somebody is saying to you, you're too sensitive, you're trying to make you doubt your perceptions of yourself, your feelings, your emotions, questioning how you feel. If you feel something, you feel something. You can't say, I don't feel that thing. You feel that thing. So you can't say, I'm not feeling that thing. Your emotions are valid. You have every right to feel what you feel, and you have every right to express what you feel. So recognizing gaslighting for what it is really important. And then you can reclaim your truth and set your boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. That's number 1. Number 2 is you're the problem, not me. So blame shifting is really bad, and it's definitely manipulation, and it has a major impact not only on you but also on the relationship. And narcissists excel at projecting and deflecting, especially in personal relationships, but even at work too. Okay, and I would see this often as an attorney, when I was employing people, they do this kind of blame shifting in order to project away from their own shortcomings or wrongdoings. If you raise a valid concern about their behavior and they say, you're the problem, not me, it's an insidious tactic to shift the focus away from their actions, leaving you confused and leaving you to doubt yourself, right? And that's not okay. And it's essential that you recognize that you are responsible for your behavior and they're responsible for their behavior, and they have to take responsibility for their own toxic behavior. You have to set boundaries and refuse to let somebody put that on you. It's not okay. You can't take unwarranted blame, and you have to assert your self-worth and protect your own emotional boundaries too. The next one is you're overreacting. They use minimizing tactics to dismiss your valid concerns, especially if they're like in an inappropriate relationship. Again, it's like, oh, I saw a text message that looks like they're flirting with somebody at their work or whatever. And what's going on with that? Oh, you're overreacting. You're reading too much into it. Again, you just like, they're accusing you of being jealous or insecure. They're diverting attention away from their own potentially bad behavior, their own flaws, their own stuff that's going on. And instead of like reassuring you, making you feel better, you have to trust your intuition here and trust in your own self-worth and do your own work around this and make sure that they're not just minimizing you, minimizing your feelings, and manipulating you around this. Okay. The next one is, I'm only trying to help you. Sometimes, especially, when they're trying to be either paternalistic or misogynistic, a lot of times you see this with men and with women, but you definitely see it the other direction too. They disguise their manipulation as like false altruism to maintain their sense of control. I was just trying to help you. A lot of times they're doing this in order to show like, oh, like this person is going to have an exposed weakness. Like, I'm so concerned about so and so and how often they're having trouble at work, because then they're going to use that against you at some point, right? So you got to be careful about, oh, I'm just trying to help you, because then that becomes, oh, that person's motives are really to use that against you at some point. Assert your boundaries there. I don't need your help. Thank you. I'm good. Just say, I'm good. Thank you. You can put that in the comments right now. I'm good. Thank you. You just got to have know who you are, right? And when you know who you are to your core, then that's a narcissist repellent. That's the next one. And by the way, if you need a free Crush My Negotiation Prep worksheet to get you started, get my free Crush My Negotiation Prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. Winmynegotiation.com is 15 pages. Just helped so many people. It's totally free. So I don't know why you wouldn't get it. Winmynegotiation.com. Get you started. It's amazing. Also join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. All right. Next one is, you're so lucky to have me. Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember a narcissistic client saying this to me, before, like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that I'm hiring you to be my attorney. I could have anybody. And I'm like, okay. Be careful about how they use flattery to manipulate you. You don't want them to have like this sense of dependency. It's a form of manipulation, right? It's a powerful tool. And when they say, you're so lucky to have me, they're really trying to create this sense of dependence, like, nobody else wants you. That's like the other flip of that, right? Remember, your worth is not defined by their approval. Recognize flattery for what it is. A lot of times it's manipulation. You keep your independence. And the next one is, you're too needy. You're so needy. It's so interesting is like they go from this love bomb stage right into the devalue stage. And at the devalue stage is right when you start to go, like when they go from 100 text messages a day to like, you're so needy, you're so clingy. And it's so crazy because it's like almost overnight. It's like, okay, I thought we were texting every day. Now all of a sudden it's like, I'm so needy, right? But that's what happens is right away, it's to diminish your self-confidence and independence. So do not internalize that criticism. You are valid. You are worthy. You are so worthy of respect and honor and understanding. And so you need to stand firm in your boundaries and do not accept their attempts to undermine your self-worth. The next one is you're imagining things. This is sort of like you're too sensitive, right? You're imagining things, especially if your intuition is telling you something, your gut, the heart is ahead of the brain. That heart is 5 seconds ahead of the brain. When that heart is sensing something, when you feel it, then you know. When that spidey sense is ahead of something, when they're trivializing something, when they're saying you're imagining things, you probably know that something is going on. So don't allow them to minimize your feelings or assert dominance over you. Embrace your emotional authenticity and refuse to let them dictate how you're feeling. You have every right to feel what you're feeling. You ready for the next one? This is the last one. You'll never find someone like me. Good. Let's hope not. So no one will ever love you like I do and all that silly stuff, right? Fear-based manipulation is a hallmark of narcissism. So when they say things like, you'll never find someone like me, they're seeking to instill fear and dependency, trapping you in a cycle of control. So you deserve love. You deserve respect. You deserve to be free from manipulation and fear. Trust in the strength and resilience to break free from toxic relationships and stay on your journey to empowerment. So there you have it, warriors. Those are the top 10 phrases that narcissists use to control and manipulate you. So in this video, we are going to be decoding the most manipulative phrases, the most awful phrases, the stealth, underhanded ones that narcissists use so that you can protect yourself from them and be able to spot them from a mile away. All right. So what is a manipulative phrase in the first place? Well, it's a type of phrase that, maybe it doesn't seem necessarily lethal or even all that bad sometimes right away. But sometimes you go, wait a minute, what was that? And I've been there. I've been, in those situations where you're like, I don't know, that doesn't seem right. You feel powerless in these situations sometimes, and you're like grasping for control. But narcissists are really, really good at crafting, these sentences where you almost are, you lose your grip, and there you are, and you just feel so yucky inside. You feel so like where you end up with this pit in your stomach or this grip in your chest, and you just aren't sure what to do. It's subtle language oftentimes, and it's a tool that they use for control and manipulation. And they're so excellent at it, So a lot of times it's things like you're too sensitive, they're trying to discredit your feelings, and they shift blame onto you so that you're ending up doubting yourself. It's very, very subtle. They might say things like, that dress looks really becoming on you for your figure. My daughter dated a guy one time who said something to her. My daughter goes to really excellent school, by the way, and she has a 4.0. But, he said something to her like, oh, if we have kids, our kids are going to have the best of all worlds because they're going to have my brains and your work ethic, and it kind of seems like the person is saying something really good, but then, wait a minute, that doesn't sound very nice. It's almost like a hidden compliment, but then it's like a backhanded, there's like this tail that kind of whips around and smacks you in the face almost at the end there, right? So they're very good at kind of whipping you around at the back. So it's like oh, wait a minute, you take offense to that? Oh, you're so sensitive. They shift that blame to make you doubt yourself. And then they'll say, oh, I was just joking. Downplaying hurtful comments to avoid responsibility for them taking action for their words. The line of work that I'm in now, teaching people how to negotiate with narcissists or high conflict personalities, they'll accuse me of being narcissistic or whatever. And, it's like, okay, but, I don't get hurt by that. But, I just think that a lot of times people will say that kind of thing, and then they'll say they were just joking. But, they say that sort of thing to avoid responsibility for their words. I think that people need to be careful about the types of phrases and words that they choose, right? Another thing that narcissists will do is they'll say, no one else thinks that way, or everyone else thinks that way. Again, they're trying to make it seem like you are the odd one, the weird one. There's something wrong with you. People who are kind, people who are loving, don't say things like that. They don't say things that are isolating, who are trying to make you feel like you're alone, like there's something wrong with you. It's not nice. It's bullying. It makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. It doesn't matter who you are. And only narcissists say things like that. If you feel good about yourself, you don't say things like that to other people. And if you guys have seen this, give me an amen in the comments if you felt this way. Very similar to you're too sensitive is like you're overreacting. Any kind of thing is like minimizing your concerns, right? If you've seen these sorts of red flags, it's manipulative types of language. Trust your instincts, trust your feelings. Our hearts are actually 20 seconds ahead of our brains. Did you know that? There's actually, it's this thing called heart math. You can actually even do coherence exercises, coherence meditations to get your heart to be in coherence with your brain. So, trust those instincts, trust those feelings, know that you are in coherence, know that you are, your intuition is correct. So protect yourselves in conversations, have strategies for responding to manipulative phrases. Say things like, thanks for the feedback. Meaning you're just keeping it over there. I agree with you. I agree that that's what you think. I know that we're not on the same page. I can see that that's what you believe. I understand that that is your position. All things that you can say. If you want more phrases for disarming narcissists, go to disarmthenarc.com and download them. Free phrases for you. Disarmthenarc.com. It's my free gift to you. Set boundaries in communication. You can say, this approach is not working for me, and get up and leave. You don't need to stay in a conversation. And then seek support and validation from trusted sources. Put that, invisible shield down around you and just, go seek support from trusted sources. I have a free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators. Join that. If you need help and support from a therapist, we have a sponsor on this channel, BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung and get the help and support that you need. We receive commissions on that. It does not cost you any extra. It is just a sponsor here on this channel. We want you to have access to help and support that you can trust. For a deeper communication, understanding of communication and strategies to protect yourself, I have a book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win, which you can definitely check out. Make sure that you get help and support that you need. Okay? So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell. If you like this video, make sure you like it and you share it so that others can have access to information like this. All right? And just know that words have power, especially in the hands of a narcissist. And by recognizing and understanding their manipulative phrases, you can navigate. You can navigate conversations confidently and protect yourself and your well-being. Just remember who you are. Know that authentic power beats that counterfeit power, their fake power. You are working toward real, authentic power. That's what we're doing here. That's what I teach you in my Slay method. That's what I teach, how to do when you are navigating and negotiating with a narcissist in a powerful way. And it is so possible. I've literally taught thousands of people how to do it. And that's what you're going to be able to be doing in your negotiations with that narcissist. It is possible. It's possible every single time. All right? Narcissists take themselves down constantly. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Therapy can feel like a really big investment, but your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session on average. You pay a flat weekly fee, which means more peace of mind for less. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. BetterHelp gives you that, all from the comfort from your home. And with over 30,000 therapists to choose from and 5 million people served globally, this is the world's largest online therapy platform, and you can switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate. Today we are tackling a phrase that I bet you didn't know is gaslighting. It seems like a common phrase, and sometimes it seems pretty innocuous. It's one of those phrases that kind of sneaks up on you. I know even for me, sometimes you think, that didn't feel very good. And you don't even sometimes realize what's happening when you're being gaslit. And that's why we're here educating you every single day on this. So what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when the narcissist is trying to destabilize you. They're trying to make you doubt your own reality by manipulating you. It's a tactic to manipulate you, sometimes unintentionally. I guess if just manipulation is just a way of life for them, saying things or doing things or acting in ways to contradict your senses, your reality, and doing things that you know to be true. They do all sorts of different things. They can straight out lie. That didn't happen. What you believe is true is not true. But a lot of times it sneaks up on you. A lot of times it's much more stealth than that. A lot of times it's much more covert than that. In this particular instance, there is a phrase that seems sometimes innocuous, but it is not. And that is, the phrase is, you're misunderstanding me. What I'm trying to say to you is, you're misunderstanding me. And a lot of times, you're not misunderstanding at all. Maybe you are confused sometimes, but a lot of times, you're not confused. at all, but they try to make it seem like you're confused. You're negotiating a particular contract and they're sharing their side of what they want, what their particular side is of the facts. And you're sharing what your particular side is of the facts and how they want it to go. You might be talking about a trend in what's happening in social media or something like that. And they're trying to explain to you what the current trends are. You know, you've done your research and they're doing their research. They'll say, you're exaggerating or something. And then they start to say, no, here is the data. Here's the data of what it is. And trying to get you to question your understanding. And sometimes if it's somebody who's a man to a woman, they try to make it seem like it's paternalistic. They try to couch it in terms of care. Or if it's somebody who's doing something unethical and you're catching them on doing something unethical, they try to weasel out of it by saying, oh, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, what I'm doing. I certainly wasn't doing anything unethical. And to try to dismiss your feelings and what you're saying by getting you to think that what you're seeing, what you're believing, what you know to be happening isn't happening because you're just misunderstanding what's going on. And it's a tool to dismiss you, dismiss your sight, dismiss your vision, dismiss your hearing, mute your voice, and get you to be manipulated. And if you guys have seen this, I want you to put, I've seen it, in the comments below. Just put, I've seen it. And it can be extremely unsettling because a lot of times you end up feeling like, okay, maybe I did misunderstand. Maybe I did mishear it. And you end up being persuaded because a lot of times if they say it with such confidence and such power and they can be extremely persuasive in their delivery, and you think, oh, well, I don't know, maybe I did misunderstand them. Maybe I did jump to conclusions or something. You know, that feeling in your gut that never quite goes away. And this isn't a professional situation or a personal situation. So it does always sort of stick in your mind as to whether or not you actually did exaggerate or you did misunderstand or you didn't quite see that the right way or the wrong way. It does always sort of make you doubt whether or not you believe that person. As human beings, we kind of want to see the good in people. And we always try to look to see if maybe there was something else that made up for it, or there was something else that we weren't seeing, and there's a lot of other good things about that person. And so we end up moving on, and a lot of times we just dismiss it and we leave it to one side, and we go on with that person in relationship, whether it's professional or personal, because we want to continue to be in relationship with that person for whatever reason. This is a common phrase that is gaslighting. If you are dealing with a narcissist and it's eating you alive inside and you're feeling like you need extra support, make sure you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. And if you want phrases for disarming narcissists, grab them. I have a whole list of phrases that you can use at disarmthenarc.com, disarmthenarc.com, phrases for disarming narcissists. Make sure you get those. And also, if you need additional support and you need access to therapy, I have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp, and you can get that access to help at betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. It is a sponsor for us, which means we receive commissions on that. If you use it, it does not cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to help and support that you can trust. Remember that gaslighting is a manipulation tool. That's what it is. It's meant for that. And the purpose of videos like this is to help you get access to information, to knowledge, to know like, hey, bet you didn't know that this phrase was gaslighting, right? And now you know. There's so many other tools out there for you. And that's, what my Slay program is all about, which is, Slay Your Negotiation with a Narcissist, which is help Many thousands of people get access to a negotiation tool that helps you win. Free content like this here on YouTube. I have this in my podcast and my book. Just remember that your feelings are valid, your experiences are real. Be cautious of phrases and responses that belittle you, invalidate you, and invalidate those around you, and ensure that your words empower you rather than diminish, right? Don't allow anybody to diminish you, diminish your light. So if this video was eye-opening for you and you think others can benefit from being in the know, make sure you like it, make sure you share it out. 6 phrases to prove that you are dealing with a narcissist. Grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's get started. So the first one is, you're not important enough. Narcissists often come back, they want to undermine your self-worth. They often want to belittle others. They want to belittle your accomplishments or diminish your importance. And so they devalue your achievements. They devalue your dreams. They want to shoot you in the foot. They take away, they suck the wind out of you. They leave you feeling inadequate. They leave you feeling unimportant. If you got promoted, if it's like a good step for you from where you were, it's just like, it's just sort of nothing. They want to just suck the wind out of your sails. It's not like you're actually successful or anything. It's not like you really did much. Or another one is sort of like, oh, you really think that's a big deal? I've accomplished way more than that already. It's sort of like you should feel lucky to be around me. Narcissists just have an inflated sense of self-importance, always expecting others to be just grateful to be in their presence. They just believe that they're superior and they should be honored to have anyone in their life. It's just sort of like payment to be around them. It's some sort of version of, you're just not that great. So that's the first one. So the next one is sort of like, you should just feel grateful that I'm spending time around you. You're just lucky to be around me. Not everyone gets the privilege of being in my company. You should just feel lucky to have me in your life. I'm doing you a favor by allowing you to be with me. The next one is, nobody understands me. You know, they kind of like have this sort of like pity party about themselves. They love to play the victim, especially covert narcissists. This is a biggie for covert narcissists. They want to gain sympathy. They want to manipulate others' emotions. This is especially a good one if you want anything or you're trying to hold them responsible for something. No one understands me. No one understands the pain that I go through. I'm all alone in this world. No one cares about me. You wouldn't get it even if I tried to explain. They really kind of shift the dynamic onto themselves, very much so if you're trying to hold them responsible for anything, or if you're trying to get them to be accountable for anything. And oftentimes they do this and make a lot of noise about you and how awful you are if you've been trying to hold them accountable for anything. And they reverse it and make you the villain. If you're a renter, you should be taking advantage of Built. We rack up points on groceries, travel, and nearly everything else. So why not one of your most hugest monthly expenses, which is your rent? Because with Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join. And just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock 2 powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or who your landlord is, your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats, or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and start taking advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's JOINBILT.com/negotiate, and make sure to use our URL so that we know that you were sent to them by us. So go to joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today. And let's dive in and unravel the hidden meanings into these phrases. Catchphrase number 1, it's all about me. This typical narcissist catchphrase really serves as a constant reminder of their self-centeredness, right? For example, a narcissistic friend who always redirects that conversation back to themselves. And it was really interesting how they can always figure out a way to direct the conversation back to themselves. I mean, even if you're talking about the weather or something, it somehow ends up talking back. It's like back on them somehow. It's so crazy how they can get it back to themselves. They never allow somebody to share their own experiences. You know, if somebody says, let me tell you about my amazing day, or let me tell you about what I went through, or anything, somehow it comes back to, let me tell you about me. Let me tell you about what I went through. Let me tell you about what I'm looking at. You know, even if you just say, how do I look? What's my hair look like? Whatever. I mean, somehow it has to get directed back to them. What I mean by this is this catchphrase reflects on their belief that their thoughts, their ideas, their needs take priority over everyone else. You know, what's amazing to me is you can even say something like, I'm sad. And somehow they take that as a personal affront to them. Why is this about you? You're mad at me. Suddenly they can't have you have a moment about you. They've got to have something about themselves, a lashing out at you. That's number 1. Number 2 is I'm the best. I'm the best. This boastful phrase is a grandiose display of their inflated ego. They might say things like, I'm the top performer, or I'm the best. But, you know, this is not something that, you know, it's okay to say that I have achieved something, you know, and that's okay if somebody has achieved something and wants to share that, especially if they are sharing it to demonstrate credibility in a field. That's all right. But if they're saying it as perceived superiority over other people, to basically say, I'm better than other people and I should have everybody else's admiration, and especially if it's not even true, that is going to be a problem. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you should know better. They employ this phrase in a multitude of ways. I didn't have that problem. Oh, I can't believe that you did that. Oh, I would never have done it that way. You know, especially when, you know, you might have slipped up and they didn't, or if they're blame shifting and redirecting attention away from themselves. If they had a boss, if you have a boss who's criticizing an employee for making a mistake that was actually their mistake, and they're trying to make it seem like it wasn't their mistake, they will blame shift it onto somebody else. You know, you should have known better than to trust my judgment on that, or to trust my mistakes, you know, my instructions. Or I can't believe you messed up again. You know, by highlighting somebody else's flaw or mistake, they attempt to assert their superiority over somebody else and evade accountability for their own actions. That's decoding catchphrase, top catchphrase number 3. Have you seen any of these so far? Give me an amen in the comments. And by the way, if you are needing to disarm a narcissist because you're dealing with this, I have phrases for disarming narcissists, which you can get at disarmthenarc.com, which will help you in combating these phrases. So I would definitely recommend that you get them, disarmthenarc.com. All right. The catchphrase number 4 is, that's not my problem. That's your problem, not my problem. When something goes wrong, where are they? They're not going to be there to support you. They're barely there to take care of, anything, right? They avoid taking responsibility by uttering this dismissive phrase. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Where are they? They're not there to help with chores or to help around the house. They don't want to help other people. They're very extremely judgmental. They don't want to help significant others when they're sick, constantly saying it's not their responsibility, but they certainly want other people to take care of them. And they definitely want to take credit for other people's work. I mean, they're inherently lazy people. And then if you do things for them, they're certainly not going to acknowledge all the things that you did for them. They don't want to give you any kind of acknowledgement for the good things that you did for them. If they messed up or whatever, oh well, but they'll say, that's not my problem. You should figure it out on your own. So this catchphrase allows for them to distance themselves from any potential consequences and place the burden solely on others, and reinforcing their self-centered mindset. So that is catchphrase number 4. The next one is catchphrase number 5, which is, you're wrong. You're wrong is they love this one because they love to find out that you're wrong and they're right. They love to belittle and invalidate others. Imagine that, there's somebody who's constantly friend or a colleague or a spouse who's constantly looking to undermine your opinions and ideas. They might say things like, you don't understand anything, you never get anything, you're way off base, your perspective is completely way off, you're misremembering things. This catchphrase is a number of different versions of you're wrong, but it's meant to control people, undermine their confidence, and reinforce their sense of superiority. So that's catchphrase number 5. They're so delightful, aren't they? Catchphrase number 6 is, that won't work. Narcissists love to use this one to invalidate ideas presented by other people. So, for example, you have a colleague who shoots down every suggestion that somebody else might bring up in a team meeting. Like, even if it's a good idea, they're just like immediately knee jerking everything to shoot down other people's ideas. They don't even have any other good ideas. They don't even have any other alternatives, but it's just like, if it's your idea, the answer is a no. And, they might say things like, it's a terrible idea. We tried that before. It didn't work. And they just dismiss any other suggestions because, they just don't want you to have the idea. They assert their perceived expertise and superiority by maintaining their control over conversations and their sense of intellectual dominance. So that is catchphrase number 6. And the last one is, trust me, which you should never do, of course. And by the way, if you are dealing with this and you need additional support, you need to join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, for sure. But this one is, it seems innocuous, but this is also a very big warning sign. And they use it to manipulate others into accepting their versions of the events without considering alternative perspectives. I mean, it's really a gaslighting phrase. It's a way of gaslighting. So, it's a manipulation. It's, trust me that this is the way it happened. Trust me the way you're remembering things is wrong. Trust me that that's the way the conversation went, or trust me that your advice is not the way it happened, or trust me that your perception is faulty. that sort of thing. And it's a way to distort narratives and silence dissenting voices and reinforce the distorted narratives that they want to reinforce. All right. So we've decoded these catchphrases, we've decoded them with examples. And that way we've been able to gain a deeper understanding into the manipulation tactics employed by these narcissists. And it's important. It's important to be able to do this because you want to be able to recognize the patterns. You want to be able to recognize the patterns employed by them, these high conflict individuals, so that you can recognize these patterns, recognize them if you're going to communicate with them, recognize them if you're going to go negotiate with them, be able to help yourself and get the support that you need. Okay, so now we are going to be talking about 21 gaslighting phrases and 10 gaslighting techniques. This is a favorite of all kinds of narcissists. Whether you are dealing with a covert narcissist, a grandiose narcissist, or a malignant narcissist, all narcissists use gaslighting techniques. What is gaslighting? First of all, let's define gaslighting before we even get into this. Gaslighting is when narcissists are trying to make you think that you're crazy. I think that it's easiest to actually talk about where the term gaslight even came from, because I think that makes it kind of easiest to figure out. And it actually came from an old play, which it was also a movie, where the husband was trying to make the wife think that she was crazy. And what he would do, he would blow out these gas lights, and the wife would say, "Wasn't that just lit?" And he would say, "No, no, it wasn't." She would say, "I'm pretty sure that was just lit." And he would say, "No." And that's how he would actually make her question her own mind. And that's what gaslighting is. That's where the term came from. It's to make you question your own mind. So it's basically things that you think you're seeing or things that you think you're hearing or whatever. They make you question your own sense of reality. So it happens in many different forms and many different formats, but that's where it comes up. So number one, for example, is "I never said that. I never said that." So literally, they will say things like, "We'll pay you back on the rent that I borrowed from you, on this money. I will borrow money from you, and then, I'll pay you back." Then you go to ask them for the money back, and they'll say, "I never said that. I never said that I was going to pay you back," or "I never said that I was going to pay you back in this way or on those terms," whatever. "I never said that." You're over there going, "You definitely did. You definitely said that you were going to pay me back. You definitely said you were going to pay me back this weekend, or you definitely said you were going to come this weekend." You know that a certain conversation took place, and they'll say, "I never said that." You know that it happened in a certain way, and they'll completely just deny it. And they'll even accuse you of being the crazy one, that, that never took place in that way. And when these kinds of things happen a lot over time, then you really start to question your own mind, right? And it's used to control you, it's used to destabilize you. And when you go to negotiate, especially after you've been with this person for a really long time, and now you're trying to go through the dissolution of a marriage or a dissolution of a partnership or any kind of a negotiation, maybe it's your boss or, any kind of business situation, it's difficult because you're in this mental fog or cognitive dissonance. It's even a physical thing, it can cause autoimmune disorders and all kinds of issues. And you're really at a disadvantage sometimes because of that. So that's number one. I never said that. Number two is "You're too sensitive." So, they might say something that's just really, really offensive, and they know that it's offensive. They'll just say, "You're too sensitive." So, maybe they'll say something about your weight, or maybe they'll say something about your brain or how you are with numbers or your driving or anything. And, when you take offense to it, they'll say you're too sensitive. And by the way, it's not the same on the other side, right? Because you know how narcissists are. They're so easily slighted at the wind blowing. I mean, you can have say something and they'll take offense at your tone, at your eyes, at nothing. I mean, they'll say, I can't speak to you because you have raised your voice. You interrupted me. They'll say you interrupted me when you didn't even interrupt, so, but they'll accuse you of being too sensitive even when you weren't sensitive, right? So that's number two. Number three is they'll say, it sounds like you don't really know what you want or what you need right now. They accuse you of these things because you do know what you want or you do know what you need, but they do these kinds of things because, or they say these kinds of things because they don't want to get into a conversation where you are asking for something or you are needing something. They don't want to have to address your wants. They don't want to have to address your needs. So they actually turn things around to make it so that they make it seem like you're crazy or you're delusional. It's a way of shifting the conversation away from having to address anything about you, because they most certainly do not want to have any kind of deep conversations or conversations where they're going to have to be on the hook for having to be there and be available for you. So that's why they'll say things like, you don't really know what you want. You don't really know what you need. They know that you know exactly what you want or what you need. They just don't want to have to provide it to you. Okay. So that's number three. Number four is they'll make a statement and then deny having made that statement. And if they'll do that in the middle of the same conversation. They'll say something and be having a fight with you. And in the middle of that same conversation, deny that they said something. It's extremely frustrating because you can say you literally just said something and then they'll say, I didn't just say that. Or they'll accuse you of saying something that you didn't say. Oh, you just called me a loser. I never said that, and you can say, I never said that. And oh, I just literally heard you say that. You get into these ridiculous conversations with them, but they say that, right? And they'll literally get into these conversations with you, or they'll deny proof of something, even if you have proof of its existence. Like you can say, you said this, and you can show them a text message that they said something, and they'll literally say, I didn't say that. I've had this conversation with courts, where I've had a narcissistic attorney on the other side, and I've had the transcript where they literally said something in court and they've said they didn't say it. It's absolutely insanity, but they will do that. So that's number four. Number five is don't be so dramatic. It doesn't mean anything. Don't be so dramatic. It doesn't mean anything. This is where you might see a text message that it looks definitely really suspicious, like miss you, or there's, hearts and, something that definitely looks inappropriate or something like that. Or you might see photographs or something that looks inappropriate, or behavior that looks inappropriate, where they're, having a relationship with somebody else that they shouldn't be, anything like that. Don't be so dramatic. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You're making too much of this. Things like that. So that's number 5. Number 6 is you're just imagining things. Just go to sleep. We'll talk about it in the morning. They don't want to have a conversation right now, so they push it off because they think that if they push it off, you'll forget about it. It's a conversation that won't have to happen. So, just go to bed. You'll have a clear head later and, just pat you on the head. You're being over dramatic. Just go to sleep, go to bed. We'll talk about it later, that kind of thing. So that's number 6, go take a breath, go meditate, take a few days, that sort of thing. Like, you're just making too much of it. Go take some time, because you're just making so much of this that you probably just need to take some time. So that's number 6. And number 7, it's just a joke, or they'll just add ha to the end of something. They'll just say something that's just completely mean, absolutely awful. And then they'll just be like, oh, ha, I know somebody who was like, that was like their signature. They'll say there's something that was absolutely awful and then just add ha to the end of it, which is so horrible. Like, they think that was like their get out of jail free card, right? Just adding ha to the end of things. Number 8 is you're the problem, not me. So, they don't ever want to think that they're the ones that have the problem. Number 9 is I don't like when you brought this up or how you brought this up. That is such a classic one. It's that project and deflect, kind of, diversion thing. It's just never a good time. Why did you bring that up now? Why do you bring that up now? And, or I don't like how you brought that up. Your tone was bad. You interrupted me. It's a bad time. It's a diversion thing to put it back on the other person, because then we don't have to actually talk about it. So that's the whole thing. You bring up these suspicious text messages or whatever. It's like, why are you bringing that up now? Or what? Now I don't like the way your tone is. Now you're interrupting me. Now it's too loud. Or now it's too hot in the room, or whatever it is. It's all about you. Okay. That's number 9. Number 10 is, okay, let's just forget about all of this. And let's just think about our future. Let's just start over. We've got so many great things ahead of us. We can just think about how many wonderful things. Why are we being negative here? Let's just think about the positive future. It doesn't help us to dwell about the past. Okay. Let's just forget about all of this and start over. Okay. So that's number 10. Number 11 is I'm not angry. They will literally rip and tear into you. You're afraid for your life. And then you ask them, why are you so angry? And then they'll say, I'm not angry. And you're literally like shaking, and they'll say, I'm not angry. I mean, it's almost scary sometimes, so that's number 11. Number 12 is this is why no one likes you. This is one of those, to make you think it's all about you. You're the one that has the problem. No one else, to isolate you, to make you think you're the one who has the problem, not them. So this is why no one likes you. And this is one of the worst ones, because normally you also have your own core wounds. And so it really speaks to that, and it makes it so much worse. So this is why no one likes you. So that's number 12. Number 13 is, can't you take a joke? Can't you take a joke? Come on. Kind of comes back to that ha thing. So that's number 13. And number 14 is, let's forget about all of this. That's that future faking thing again. And number 15 is, you're reading way too much into this. It's again your fault. Number 16 is, stop being so insecure. You're the one being so insecure. Number 17 is, I'm sorry you feel that way. I could do a whole video on faux apologies, which I have done, which you can definitely check out my other videos on narcissists. So, faux apologies. Do narcissists really apologize? I wonder. So you can check that out, those other videos on that. And number 18 is, well, excuse me for trying to be wonderful to you. It's a guilt apology. That's what I call those guilt apologies. This is all part of that manipulation ship that you're in. Remember, everything a narcissist does is a manipulation. Everything they do, even when they love bomb you, it's a manipulation. Okay. And number 19, I guess I'm just a horrible person. I guess I'm just horrible. This is when they try to flip things around on themselves. When you're asking for something, when you're trying to get them to feel anything about you, it's, I guess I'm just horrible. They turn it on themselves to be a victim. And then number 20, no one else loves you like I do. Again, trying to isolate you, trying to make you think that no one else loves you, only they do, right? Because they're afraid to be abandoned. Remember, narcissists are way more afraid of you than you are of them. Their biggest fear is that you're going to abandon them or expose them, which goes back to number 21. Number 21 is, everyone else thinks and no one else thinks. So they have this whole thing, and I have a whole video on narcissist favorite catchphrases, which you can definitely check out, which they say these things all the time. Everyone else thinks this and no one else thinks that. Things that they say to isolate you, to make you think that you're the one who's crazy. Not okay. And I want you to put this in the comments right now. It's not okay, these things that they're doing, because they're trying to make you think that you're the one that's crazy. You're not. It's not you, it's them, which is why I want to go into the 10 gaslighting techniques that narcissists use right now. Number 1 is invalidating your feelings. Invalidating your feelings so that you think that you're, not so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive, right? Invalidating your feelings. Number 2, making you think that you had conversations that didn't take place. We talked about that and you agreed, don't you remember? You didn't have that conversation. If you knew you didn't have that conversation, stand up, say, we didn't have that conversation. It's okay. You can say that. Number 3, they take bits and pieces of conversations and then redesign them into new truths. So they fashion like parts of conversation and then say, oh, we talked about parts of that. And then they kind of make that into new truths, right? And that's not okay either. Number 4 is they isolate you by using those absolutes. Remember, everyone else and no one else. Not okay. Not okay. Remember, put that in the comments. Not okay. Number 5, isolating you by making you think that you're not lovable. I'm the only one who truly loves you. Your family doesn't really love you. Your friends don't really. Therefore, no one else would ever love you either. That's not true. And that's why you really do need a support system. That's why you really do. And that's why you really do need phrases for disarming narcissists, which I have for you. You can get at disarmthenarc.com. Make sure you go to disarmthenarc.com, grab my free phrases for disarming narcissists, and you need a support system, by the way. So I have that too, which is Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. That's my free private Facebook group. Make sure you join that too. Okay. And I also have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp, which you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung and get the help and support that you need. We receive commissions when you sign up with them. It does not cost you any extra. We just want you to have access to the help and support that you need. So, number 6 is making conversations and then making themselves out to be the victim of those conversations. Like, I guess I'm just horrible, reversing that conversation, right? When you're trying to get them to see your side or have any feelings about you at all. I'm just the terrible one, reversing that. That's not okay either. Number 7 is interrupting conversations so that you can never get to the point of what it is that you're trying to say. Never the right time. It's too loud, etc. So that's number 7. And then number 8 is never taking responsibility by, wanting to take to just move on, future fake you, move right to the new thing and just forgetting about the past. That also invalidates your feelings and doesn't give you a chance to heal and feel acknowledged and feel valued and show them that you matter, right? That's also a form of gaslighting, and that is not okay. So that's number 8. Number 9 is making you think you're crazy by saying things like, I'm not angry, when they're clearly angry. You're imagining things, you're reading too much into things. That's also a form of making you think you're crazy, and it causes this cognitive dissonance and this brain fog. Okay, so that's number 9. And number 10 is taking a lot of the focus off of what's going on with what they did by making a lot of noise around your behavior, blowing things up around your behavior and accusing you of all kinds of things when you didn't do anything, but they make a lot of noise around what you're doing because they want to take the focus off of themselves.